Hello everybody, my name is Kyle Lee, aka Kilo Loco from kiloloco.com, and today we're going to be going over UI collection views and more specifically how to present server data on them. I actually already did this video, but after a full hour of recording it didn't save, so I have to do it again, and this is going to be the repo that the original project was in. And I'm just going to call it Imager2 when we get there. So yeah. Anyway, so the tools that we're going to be using, Xcode 8.2.1, Swift 3, and then the Imager API. Skill level needed for this is going to be intermediate because you should already know Swift language basics. You should know how to create and use data models. And then most importantly, you should know how to do URL requests. You know, I'm obviously going to go through each of these things step by step so you can see how it's done, but I'm not going to explain why I'm doing, URL sessions the way that I'm doing them. But yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and start a new project as usual. Oh boy. I can't believe I recorded it and it didn't even save. Here we go again. All right, that's fine. So we're just gonna call this Imager 2 because I already did it once before. Save it in your KL Learning because that's where I learn you. And then, all right, so let's go ahead and set up our main storyboard. Right? Makes sense to me. If it makes sense to you. Well, it doesn't really have to make sense to you. Well, I'm doing it for you, so it should make sense to you. Anyway, so let's go ahead and we'll do a nav bar. Just, this isn't absolutely necessary, but makes things look a little bit nicer. So why not? Alrighty, and then we'll do 6 D4, and we'll update those constraints. It's looking all right. I'm gonna change the color. Let's do it this blue color. And for the title, we'll do Imager. You know what? Yeah, we'll do it lowercase because I think that's how they do it. And we want the title. If I could select the navigation bar, we want the title to be white. I think the title color should be white. Looks good. Looks good to me. All right, next we want to go ahead and add that collection view. So go ahead and throw that on there. And the reason I use the collection view as opposed to collection view controller is because, most of the time you want to make sure that you have like full control over your app, and throwing a collection view inside of a regular view controller means that you can change the way that, like, maybe you only want it to be like down here or something like that, or you want it to be interactive or something. So that's usually why I use the table view controller, or not the table view and the collection view, as opposed to the table view controller and the collection view controller. So that's just me. Go ahead and do it however you want. But don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, so we have it pinned to all 4 sides. We're going to be using the data source, so I'm just going to control drag and select data source. There we go. And then for the cell, I want it to stay a square, so I'm going to shift and drag. And we could probably do this like maybe 130. 130 sounds about right. If not, we can always go back and change it. Okay, so we have it at 130, and then we want to display images in here, right? So let's do a UI image view, right? And just throw that up in there, and we will do this. So now it's going to be a perfect square, so let's go ahead and pin it. Make sure that it is a perfect square. And we'll add those constraints, update the frame. I also want to throw in a blur view, a visual effect, I should say. And we're going to put this at the lower half. So this will like make it blurry at the lower part of the screen, or lower part of the cell, I should say. And that's just a nice little, nice little UI thing, so that when there's text on it, it looks like, the text kind of stands out more than the picture, right? So let's go ahead and first we want to pin this to the bottoms and the sides, right? And we'll keep the height about the same. And then we'll throw in a label so that we can, see what the title is. Now, we're going to have, oh man, come on now. Okay. Right there. Now, we're going to have a label in here, but the titles for most of the images are going to be too long, so you actually won't even be able to see the full title, but it should give you the gist of how to display data from JSON into a collection view. Just because it's not working, just because it's not pretty doesn't mean that it's not working, right? And I think this is all that we want for ourselves. So let's go ahead and make sure that our cell has its own class. We'll just call it a imager cell, right? Imager cell. And then we'll go ahead and save that. Okay, so what do we have? We have two outlets. We have the image view and we have the title. So IB outlet week var title, and this will be title label, UI label, right? And then we have at IB outlet week var image view, and that's a UI image view, right? And then just like any other cell, we're going to configure this. So we want to do a function. So func configure, and we're not going to pass in anything in there right now, but we just want to have it so our cell is somewhat set up, right? And then we want to go back over here, make sure that our cell is the right subclass. So we go over here. We also want to make sure that it has a reuse identifier. We'll call it imager cell, right? And the right subclass would be an imager cell. Okay, so far it's the same exact thing as pretty much a table view cell. Oh, also we want to make sure that the image is not distorted, so we want to make sure it's going to be aspect fill. Okay, so are we done with the UI? I think so. All we have to do is just drag. We have to drag. Wait, how do I usually do this? Oh, I usually do it like this. So, oh no, we have to do it from the cell. So we do go to the cell, you control click, and then we have our image view. We can drag that right there, and then our title label, drag that right there. All right, so now everything's all connected. So now we could go back to our view controller and start setting it up. Make sure that it has a reference to our collection view. So we want to do a IB outlet, right? We var, and we'll just call this collection view of type UI collection view, right? And then we actually are going to need both of these methods, so we'll just keep them. But we'll do an extension of our view controller, so that we can access the UI collection view data source. UI collection view data source right here, and this will provide us with the methods that we can use to set up the sections, the number of items, and the how each item is going to look in this, or each cell is going to look for each item. So we'll do number of sections, and we'll just return one. So we only have one section. We're not going to do like anything too crazy. Number of items in section, we're going to return 0 for right now. Let's see. And then item, cell for item at index path. And right now we're just going to return UI collection. Oh, actually, you know what? Since we already have our cell, let's go ahead and make that. So we have guard let cell equal collection view DQ reusable cell with identifier. Remember, we called this imager cell. For index path, we just pass that on through. And then as a imager cell, else return UI collection view cell, just standard cell, right? So we have that, and then remember that we have the cell configure, right? So cell dot configure, and it's not going to do anything just yet, and then return cell. Okay, so we have that piece already implemented. We also want to make sure that we connect our collection view, so let's go ahead and do that. So we grab our collection view, control, drag to the view controller. Actually, my bad, other way around. View controller to collection view, and we'll say that it's the collection view. And I think we are all set up, right? I think so. Should we run it just to test? Let's go ahead and run it just to test it. There's no harm in running it. If everything works, then it shouldn't crash. Essentially, that just means that everything's connected so far, and that our UIs should just present on the screen. Yeah, stuff like that, something like that. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so it's blank because we don't have anything. Remember, we're returning 0, so nothing's happening, so that's good. All right, next thing we want to do is we want to set up our networking layer. So we'll just do a new file, and we are going to do a Swift file because it's not going to subclass anything. So we'll just call this networking service, right? And will our networking service need? We'll come to that when we come to that. All right, so this is going to be a class of type or we're going to call it networking. Networking service. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure that there's a singleton, so that there's always an instance that we reference. So we'll do static let shared equal networking service. We'll initialize that, and then we'll make sure that it can't be initialized anywhere else by making the access control private. And the initialization method will be that, right? And then we actually need to create a function so that we can do the networking, right? Duh. So we have a function, and we'll just call this get imagers, get imagers. And let's see, what is this going to take? Well, this is going to have a completion handler, so that's for sure. And we're not going to do any error handling in this video. So I'm not going to set it up exactly how I would in a production project. But if you're able to follow along through this part, then you should be able to, optimize it later for a production level app. So we're just going to we're not going to check for errors, like I said. So we're not going to check for any failures. We're only going to check for success. So success, and then that's going to be the external name for the function. And then, or for this argument in this function. And then the internal name, we'll just call it success block. And this is going to be an @escaping because we are going to be using this data even after the end of this function is finished calling, or outside the scope of this function, I should say. And we're not going to pass anything into it just yet, but we will finish our completion handler, and then yeah, right. So the external name will be success, and then internal name will be success block, and then it's a @escaping because we're going to be using the data that we're passing through this completion handler. And yeah, so now we have to just go ahead and start off with making our request, right? So first we have to make the URL. So and URLs are optional by default. So we'll do guard let URL equal URL from string, right? And then we don't know what the path is just yet, or the URL is just yet. I have to go back to the imager side and copy and paste it, but we know it's going to be a string, else we're going to return, right? So now we could create a request. So we'll do guard. Yeah. So now we'll do let request equals URL request, and we're going to initialize this from a URL, which we just have right there. And then we're going to need to actually create our session. So I'll just create the session and make it accessible, a class property. And we'll just call this session is equal to URL session dot shared, right? Because we're going to be using it later too. So now what we'll do is we'll do session dot data task, and we want to make sure we have a completion handler because we want to do stuff with our response, right? So what do we have? We have a URL request. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to just pass in our request, and then we're going to press enter on the completion handler. Now I told you right now, or just a couple seconds or minutes ago, that we're only going to be working with assuming that everything's going right. So I'm not going to actually use the response. I'm not going to check the response, make sure that it's a 200. I'm not going to check for any errors, make sure that there's no errors. I'm only going to check to make sure that there's data. So yeah, just fair warning, data. I'm not going to be using the response, so I'm going to just put an underscore as an pretty much stating that I'm not going to use it. And error, I'm not going to use it either, so I'm just going to put underscore for that too. So now data is optional. I don't know if it'll show, but it is optional. So what we have to do is we have to check that it does have a value. So guard let data equal data else return. And then if data is a valid, if there is valid data in there, what we want to do is we want to convert it to JSON, right? So what we'll do is we'll do we have to put in a do block, and then we have to catch. Once again, I'm not going to do anything with our errors. I'm just going to assume that everything works. and we'll do let guard let JSON, right, equal, and then this is a part that throws is JSON serialization, so we have to do try JSON serialization dot is it gonna give me it? So JSON serialization. Am I spelling that wrong? Okay, I'm gonna assume that I know how to spell serialization dot oh yeah, I did spell it right. Okay. We want reading options, so JSON object, right? We're gonna pass in our data right there. We are not gonna specify any options, so just leave it as a blank array, and we want to cast this as a dictionary. Usually what I'll do is I'll put a type alias right here. I'll call it JSON, and then JSON I will say is of type string and any. So yeah, just a type alias. So this will be as JSON, right? AKA string any, else we'll just return. So if we're able to get the JSON, we want to pass our, oh wait, hold on, we have the optional, right? So if we're able to make that JSON, now we want to pass it into an object that's going to handle this response. So I have to make a whole nother object, and we'll just call this, since this function is called getImagers, I'll call it getImagers response, right? So let's do a new file, and this is also going to be a Swift file, and we're going to call it getImagers response. Very classy, I know. We are going to be working with UIKit in here, I think, because I think we're going to be working with images. You know what? Let's leave it as foundation, and then we'll adjust it as needed. It's not a big adjustment. Okay, so this one's going to be a struct, right? And we're going to call it getImagers response. All right, and then we're going to initialize this, right? We're going to initialize this with JSON. And it's also going to throw, well, I usually set it to throw, since as you can see, we're already in a do block, and then it also allows for I don't know what you call it, a do try block or do catch block. I don't know what people call it, but you know, we're already in a do block when we're going to be using this. So we might as well just put it as throws, and then this gives us the option for additional error handling, which I'm not going to do in here, but this is the way that I usually do it. By habit, this is just how I do it. So might as well just keep it up, right? So what we want to do for right now is we just want to print the JSON, because we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so if we're able to get the JSON into this object, then it will print the JSON for us, and we'll be able to see what the response is. So we'll just do let, and I'm gonna give it a fake namespace for right now, because we're not gonna be able to use that successful. Oh well, actually, yeah, we'll just do it. Okay, so let get imager response equal get imagers response, initialize it with JSON, and then we pass in our JSON. And since it's it throws, we have to mark it with try. And now, since we've already created this object, this getImagersResponse object, now we can actually say that this function is going to have a success block that returns, or it's going to be passing the getImagersResponse. GetImagersResponse. So now what we can do is we can say success block and then pass in our getImagersResponse. No, I did that right. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Pretty sure I did that right. Success. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Success block. There we go. All right. So now we actually need to call this function. So let's go back to our view controller. And we'll just do in the view did load. And we will call it from right here. So we'll do networking service. There we go. Shared. And then we're going to get imagers. And then we're just going to press enter. And I will call this response. Right? And then we just want to, well, do we want to print our response? No, we'll just say print got here. Right? Right? Okay, so if all goes well, oh no, it won't go well because I forgot my .resume, aka .resume. So we gotta find our networking service, right? Because remember, with URL sessions, you have to specify .resume. Whoa, what was that? Resume. Okay, so nothing happened, right? So we're gonna try this one more time. And oh, well, it's not gonna work because we don't have a path. Duh. Okay, well, obviously it's that time to go to the Imager API and find out what the URL is going to be. So we can go ahead and get that. And I think we will be, yeah, I think that's the best way to go. So let's go over to your Safari or whatever browser you'd like to use. I'm just going to go over to Google, show you how to get there. I'm going to type in Imager API. Going to go to this, the Imager API general information, right? First thing that you want to do is you want to go down over here to where it says authentication. Now you want to go down to where it says registration, register their app, and we'll just call this get, let's see, wait, is this where, yeah, I don't know what that was about. Anyway, entering your application name, it doesn't matter because it's really not even checking most of this stuff anyways, but authorization without a callback URL. You know what, I've been doing this one, but it looks like we could do it without usage without user authorization. We'll just do this middle one because I don't want to put a callback URL. Let's see if that works. I haven't tried that yet. Email, I'll just put in my throwaway email at hotmail.com. And then this gets them imagers though. Okay, so description is whatever you want. I am not a robot. I'm gonna submit, right? All right, so now we have a client ID, and it says that we have to specify in our header field that we have to put authorization and then client ID and then your actual client ID, right? So in another tab, I'm actually going to go back over to API endpoints. So I'm going to command click API endpoints, right? We're going to go to the new API docs that Imager has created recently. So go ahead and click on that. And what we want to show are a bunch of images, right? So we're going to go to gallery. Makes sense. We're going to go down here to where it says subreddit image. No, subreddit galleries. This one. This is the one that we're going to use. I tried gallery. It doesn't really work that well. Plus, there's all kinds of optional weird things that makes your thing look really weird. So we're just going to use this one. It's really easy. Just, the only required thing is that you specify a subreddit, which is like a category that's searchable on Imager. And then everything else is optional. So we need to put in this endpoint. And it's really just up until here. So I go ahead and copy that. I'm going to paste it in here. Now we can, you can do this however you want. This part is where you'd probably put in like optional. So like if you wanted to do the get imagers and then you wanted to specify like, oh, I want to have user input, then you can like have put in like user input or something like that, right? And it could have been a string. And then whenever you call this, you just grab your user's input and then you put it right here, and then they can search for whatever they want. But we're not going to do all that. You should know. I gave you enough information for you to know how to do that. I'm just going to go with cats because cats rule the internet. I'm more of a dog person, but cats rule the internet. So we'll do cats, and then yeah, notice that it's HTTPS, so we don't need to allow arbitrary loads, but we will have to allow arbitrary loads for something a little bit later, but I'll get to that later. So we're going to go ahead and run this, and if all works, then we should be able to get our JSON that's printed out when we're initializing this get imagers response. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Is it gonna print? We don't know. Yes, it is. There it is. Do. Look at that. 401 error. Authentication required. Oh, duh, because I didn't add it. So, I did we want to make sure that this request is a variable. Remember that it said that I had to do, put in my authorization. We forgot to do that. Well, I forgot to do that. You guys didn't forget to do that, right? So we're going to have to go to our request. We have to do add value for header, HTTP header field. So that's the one that you want. And then the value will be, look at it, tells you exactly what you need for this call. So for the header field, we need our value, which will be client ID space whatever our client ID number is. So let's go ahead and put that in. Bam. And then we have to go back to the other tab, copy our number or our ID, whatever, our key, whatever you want to call it. Right? And then for the actual key or the header field, it's called authorization with the lowercase a, so we'll pass that in there. It's always better to copy and paste just so that you make sure that you didn't, incorrectly spell something, or, because maybe client, like if you did, lowercase c on client, maybe it wouldn't work. So it's always better to just copy and paste. It's the safer thing to do. Well, it's a good thing that you guys got to see that, because, things don't always work out the way that you want them to when you're doing these API calls, and you have to be able to figure out why. Alright, so as we can see, we got our response back. What we would expect our response. See, status 200, and then we have data, and then we have an array. So this data is an array of objects. So if you go ahead and look at this, each of these is like a post, right? So I'm going to actually say that each object in here, I'm going to go ahead and call it an imager, right? And we'll turn each of these responses, or each of these each of these objects in this array into imager objects in our code. So to do that, we need to make a new file. And let's see, it'll be a Swift file, and we will call it imager, just like that. Ooh, the naming conventions on this are very bad because I have imager2, which is the project name. Just be careful with what you guys call these things. Probably shouldn't have called this project imager2 and then have an object called imager, right? But you know, live and you learn. Okay, imager. And then this is going to be a failable initializer because you know, for whatever reason, if we can't get back this data, we just don't want an object at all. It's all or nothing with me. I'm very picky. Nah, I'm just joking. Well, I'm a little bit picky. I don't know. Anyway, so now we're gonna be getting a dictionary back, right? Because this is a dictionary. This object is a dictionary, and there's only 3 things that we really want from here. We want the ID. We want the title, and we want this link right here, that link right there, because that's where the actual image is stored, because we're not receiving the image just yet. We actually have to do another request and download that image, so we want to get the link. So what we'll do is we'll put in a guard statement and check our JSON for each of those. So guard let ID is equal to JSON with the key of ID as string. Next, we want to do let title is equal to JSON with the key of title as string. And then we want to do let link equal JSON, the key of link as string, else return nil. And we're just gonna make sure that this is aligned properly, right? Okay, so either we're able to get all of our values, or we don't have an object, pretty much. So now we want to make sure that we have each of these. Now the link, we don't really want to have like anything to have access outside of our object. So we'll actually set the access control to private, and we'll do let link be of type string. But we do want to be able to access the title and do we even want the ID? No, maybe we even want the ID to be private too. Actually, now that I think about it, private let ID, which is of type string, right? But we do want to have access to the title, because the title we're going to be using elsewhere. So let title be of type string. Huh, you learned something new. Yeah, I think that should work, because we don't want to, I don't think we want to have access to the ID outside of here. Yeah, it should only be internal. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just set our values, make sure that we can initialize this object properly. So self.id is equal to ID, right? Self.title is equal to title, not tile, title. And then self.link is equal to link, right? So now we're able to properly initialize this object, but we're not even using, we don't have a reference to this object. We're not passing anything in here just yet. So we want to go back to our imagers response, right? Which is this entire thing, which contains the array of what we're going to call imagers, right? And we want to access the data from this JSON object. So we'll do guard let data equals we're going to access the data key from our JSON, so data, and then we want to specify that it is a array of JSON, right? else we want to throw we're gonna throw some error. So let's just go ahead and quickly create a custom error class. We'll just call this my error, I guess. Call it my error, and then we'll do we'll make it an enum. So my error of type error, and then we'll only have one case. We'll just call it some error, right? Whatever, case some error. So now we can throw my error dot some error. So now we can throw that. So if we're not able to grab the data and cast it as an array of JSON, then we're just going to receive this error. But if we are able to create this data or reference this data as JSON, array of JSON, then we can move forward. So now what we want to do is we want to cast each of these as imagers. So each JSON object that's in this array of this data array, we're going to turn it into imagers, right? So we'll do let imagers equal data, and we're going to map this array. So we'll do map, and we're going to create, since it's an array of JSON, we can create our imager object by initializing it with JSON, and each object in here is JSON, so we could just say whatever object is passing through at that moment. It'll initialize imager, and we'll notice that this imagers object is going to be an array of optional imagers, because remember that it is it has a failable initializer. So we actually have to flat map it. So we'll do dot flat map, and we'll just pass in the object in question. So if it is optional, then if it is like a nil value, then it won't be added to this imagers array. But if it actually has a value, imager value, then it will be added. So now we have imagers, and we want to have a property in our response that we can access those imagers. So we'll do let imagers be of type array of imager, right? So now we could do self.imagers is equal to imager, right? And now we have that. Okay, so now let's go back to our networking layer. Make sure that we're passing everything as expected. We are. It should be working. Where we have our header in there working properly. Now with our response, we should be able to print out our imagers, our response imagers, response dot imagers, right? Oh wait, no X. And then also in our response, I think we were printing out that JSON. We don't want to print that out anymore, because we just want to make sure that we're going to print out this array of imagers when the only thing that should be printed to our logs should be this array of imager objects. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's not gonna look pretty, but it's gonna work, I think. At least I think it's gonna work. We'll see. Bam. The ugliest, most beautiful imager objects you ever did see. Okay, so as you can see, you have your ID, your link, and then your title, and then the next one is ID, link, and title. So it's each of our objects. So we're passing it properly. Now, let's go ahead and stop that simulator. Now that we have the response, we want to actually be able to store this response in our view controller. So what we'll do is we'll do a variable called imagers as well. And then we'll actually give this a default value of a blank array of imagers. This way we can set our collection view to reference the imagers property, and we could put the number of items in the section as the imagers.count. Imagers.count. Right? So now it will be 0 when it starts, but when we get our response, and if we make sure that we say self.imagers is equal to response.imagers, then we'll actually get something, right? Okay. So now that we have that, now that we're setting the value, one thing that we want to make sure is that we're setting it on the main thread. So we want to go back to our networking service and remember that URL sessions URL session is not thread safe by default. So you have to do that yourself. So we want to do dispatch queue.main async. And all we want to do is just put this in here. This way, everything is on the main thread when it comes back. So now the view controller will be on the main thread. We also want to update our configure function, because now we have an imager object that we want to make sure that we're passing into the configure function. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to configure with an imager object with imager, right? And then now we could say self.title label.text is equal to imager.title, right? Well, no, not really, because it has to be lowercase, because yeah. And we don't even need this self. It makes it look extra ugly. Okay, so now we can configure with an imager object, and we should be able to get the title values for those imager objects. So all we have to do is just pass it in here. So we're going to configure with, we'll reference our imagers, right? Imagers. And then whatever object is at this item, that's supposed to be for this item. So index path dot item. So now when we press play and we run this, we should actually get all of our titles. Now notice we haven't done anything with the images yet, and that's because we actually need another request to download each of those images, but we're not there quite yet. But we're almost there. We're getting there. So let's just make sure that our title labels are all updated when this comes up. So it doesn't look like it worked. Let's see, what did I do wrong? Oh, well, we're not updating it. Duh. So self.collectionView dot reload the data. Now it should work. We weren't reloading the data, so the collection view got set up before we even had data in there, and then it didn't know to reload even though we did the request. So just gotta reload the collection view. Easy as that. See? So now we have these names in here, right? Now, like I said, it's not gonna look pretty, but we have, like, I mean, you can change the UI however you want. But the thing is that we were able to get the titles into the cells, right? So let's go ahead and stop that. Now, next thing that we want to do is we actually want to get the image to display. So let's go ahead and, oh, you know what? I don't have it printing the JSON, so we have to do this one more time, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and just print this JSON real quick, because we need to reference that JSON. So, well, I mean, we could do it from the docs, but when you can work with live data, it's always better to work with live data as opposed to documented data, because things might have changed since the last time that they updated their docs. You know, the thing with docs is that they're really big, and they just recently did them, so it should be up to date, but still, we just want to make sure that we're working with what we're actually receiving as opposed to what we're supposed to be receiving. Okay, so notice that we get this link, right? So when we get this link, what we want to do is we want to download the data from this link, which it'll be an image because it has a .jpeg, so we know that it'll be an image. We also need to allow app transport security, or allow arbitrary loads, because notice that this is a HTTP address as opposed to a HTTPS address. So let's go ahead and fix that first. So what we'll do is just we'll press this little plus, we'll scroll up, app transport security, you press enter, it'll turn into a dictionary. You do the drop down, you press the plus again, allow arbitrary loads comes up automatically, you press enter. You go to the value, you type in capital yes, press enter, and now when we're ready to download from this link, we will be able to, because we allow arbitrary loads. So next we want to go to our networking service, and we want to create a new function, and this will be called download image. Now we need to know which image to download. So we want to pass a link, so at URL, and then this will be a string. So we have to pass in which URL we want to download it at, right? And then we're also going to just do another success block. So success, that'll be the external name. Success block will be the internal name. And remember that this is going to be at escaping, because we're going to be using what we receive back. So at escaping. Now, what do we expect to get out of this response? Or what do we expect to get from the completion handler? We want a UI image. So that, and then we'll return void. Right. And then, what's up with my voice? Did it just crack? I'm going through puberty again, guys. Let's see. We want UI kit, right? Because we need to access a UI image. That's what's being received in the completion handler. And yeah. So now we have to, once again, set up our URL. And all we have to do for that is just do guard let URL equal URL, initialize it with a string, and that's going to be our URL. Else return, right? Guard let looks good to me. So now we want to do a data task. So we'll do session dot data task with URL, and we need a completion handler, so we'll pass in our URL. Actually, you know what, I'll call this with link. With link. No, with link, and then we'll pass in link right here, because having URL right there, it's kind of looking weird and confusing. So we'll just do that with link. And then over here, what we want to do is we just press enter. And this is going to be just like we did up here. So we're only going to check for the data. You should be checking for the, I mean, you could use the response. That's not absolutely necessary. But you definitely should be checking for the error. I'm not checking for the error. Data, no. Okay. So now we just do the same thing. Guard let data equal data else return, right? And we're not going to do the JSON serialization because we're not expecting JSON back, right? We're going straight to an image, so we want to download this image. So we want to convert this this image into we want to convert this data into an image. And for us to do that, we're going to need UIKit, which we already have. So I'm actually going to do it right here. So want to do let image equal UI image, and we want to initialize this with data. See how it returns an optional image? Well, we don't want that. We want to make sure that the image is actually there. So we'll pass in our data, and that's why we're adding it to part of our guard statement. So now, as long as data is a valid value, right, and we can create an image from that data, we can move forward. And all we have to do is do our success block. Oh wait, we have to make sure that we're on the main thread, remember? So dispatch queue.main.async, and then we just have to pass in, we do our success block, and we'll pass in our image. Pretty simple, right? Xcode's tripping. I was right. Xcode's tripping. I did everything right. See? I know what I'm doing. Okay, so now we can actually get the image. So now we need to go back to our imager object, right? And we have to have some type of function that's going to actually download the image for us. So let's just say image. We'll call it func image. And then this also has to be a completion handler because, you know, we don't have the image right away. It's, you know, an asynchronous call that's being returned to us. So we'll do completion. We'll just call it completion because we're not going to be using anything. Like we're not going to, I don't know. Anyway, completion, and then this is going to return a UI image. So you want to make sure that you have UIKit imported, which I'll do right now. Let me just finish this right here. Import UIKit. Right, so now that'll work. So now all we have to do is do networking service dot shared dot download image with that doesn't really make sense. Let's change that right now. From link. There we go. That makes a little bit more sense. Change this to from link, and then I'll pass in this link right here, right? So link, and then we press enter. We'll just call this image, and then we'll just pass it in our completion handler because it will automatically be verified that this is an image. Oh, and we have to do add escaping, remember? Escaping. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're passing the link into the networking service so that it knows where to go out and download that image from, and then if all goes well, then we're being passed back that image, and you know, now whenever I have an image or object, I could just call .image with a completion handler, and then I'll have access to that image. So now what we want to do is we want to add that to the imager cell, which is where we're setting up our UI. So we go over here and we do imager, right? Dot image. Completion is going to be enter, and we just type in image, right? Sure, whatever. And then we'll do self dot image view dot image is equal to image. Bam. See? All right. So now when we run it again, our UI should start populating with images. Yeah. We're getting to it. We're getting to it. It's just a matter of time. Do 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 do. Get into it. Get into it. Just a matter of time. It's gonna be a little bit slower because I think it's still printing that JSON. See, whenever you have print and it does all that, it takes a little bit longer. So now, let me guess. Didn't put resume. Okay. Oh man, Kyle, what are you doing, man? Dot resume. Okay, since we're already here, we don't want to print the JSON because that makes it a little bit slower to print. Let's try that one more time. It's these little things that I get you. But at least, you know, at least I know what the problem is. It's better than not knowing what the problem is and then being like trying to search. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, bam, look at that. Wow, guys, look at what you did. All those cats. Now, it has to download them. So, I mean, it does take a little while, especially on a simulator, to download all these images. But there's two problems that we have right now. The first is that if we scroll back up fast enough, you'll see that you see how these two are the same, but they're not supposed to be the same, and then that some of the images are like updating to different images when I scroll. You see how it shows an image, but it's not supposed to be that image. It updates. Let's see if any of them do it. See how these two are the same? Those aren't supposed to be the same. See how they're changing as I scroll? Now, that's a problem with the collection view, and the reason why it's doing that is because what's happening is when it's reusing the item, the cells, when it's reusing the cells, there was already an image value that was set for it. So that leftover image value it already populates it, but it still has to go out and download the actual image that's supposed to go in there, and then it'll update once it downloads. So in order to fix that, what we have to do is we have to go over to our imager cell, and we have to call this method called prepare for reuse, right? And then all we want to do is just do self, or no, we want to do title label dot text, and we're gonna set this to nil, right? And then the image view dot image is equal to nil as well. So what this will do is, as soon as it's being prepared for reuse, it will set both the title label's text and the image view's image to nothing, so that it doesn't give us that flickering between different images, right? The other problem is that we've already downloaded some of these images at the top, but when we scroll back up, it's still like really slow because it's still downloading. It's gonna re-download some of these. See that? See how they're re-downloading? We shouldn't do that. If we're downloading an image, we should definitely save the image to the device, but not like storage wise. You want to save it in memory, which is caching. So you want to cache that image so that you can, like if you've already downloaded it, you can just present it again because it's already on the you already have it right there, it's already been downloaded, and you just show that image one more time. So this will fix our problem where images pop up and there's something different. Now we have to deal with the caching images problem. So let's go ahead and make we'll do a new file, and we'll just do a Swift file, and we'll call this image cache. And I'm actually going to import UIKit because we're going to be working with UI images again. And this is going to be a class because I need a subclass, the NS cache object or class, whatever you want to call it. We'll call this image cache, subclassing NS cache, and then for NS cache you have to specify that it is a dictionary of any object and any object. So that's what we have to do. And we only want to add two methods. We want to be able to add the image to the image cache, and we want to be able to retrieve that image from the image cache if it's there. So what we'll do is we'll make a function, and this will be add, and it's an image cache. So what are we going to be adding? Obviously an image, so we don't need an external name, so we do image, and then we'll be able to pass in a UI image for key, and then we're going to have a key which will be a string, right? So we're going to save them just like a dictionary, right? And that's all it is. It's like a dictionary. So we want to save an image for a specified key that we say, and then we want to be able to use that key to re-access that that value. So to add an object, we'll do add object, or let me see, object for key, or no, what is it? Set object, I want to say. Set object, right? So the object that we want to set is the image, and then the key that we want, the for key is going to be key, but key actually has to be cast as any object for I don't know what reason, but I mean because NS cache is of type any object in any object, I guess, but yeah, that's the way that we have to do it. And then so that will actually save it to our cache. Now we want to retrieve it, so we'll just do func, and then we just want the image, right? So image, and then we want it we want to access it by the key, so for key, once again we'll have a key which will be a string, and then this will return a UI image. It'll optionally return a UI image because we don't know if it will actually be cached yet. We don't know if it'll be added to the cache just yet. So what we want to do is we want to do guard let image equal object for key, right? And we're going to pass in our key. Once again, have to cast it as any object. And then we want to say this object should be a UI image, else we'll return nil. And then if it is a valid object, then we'll just return the image. Or if it's a valid image, then we'll return the image, obviously. Okay, stop complaining because I did everything right. See? Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to have this cache accessible. Well, we're going to just make it have global access for right now because we're only using it in one spot. So I'll just do this. So let, yeah, do I want to do that? Yeah, let image cache equal image cache. So now we have a global cache that we can access, right? So now what we want to do is we want to go to our imager object, and we're going to, first thing we want to do is, once we download that image, right, and it's returning that image right here, we want to add that image to the image cache. So image cache dot add, we're going to add an image, right? For key, we'll use our ID, right? So self.id. And that's the perfect way to reference this object, because you know that they're going to have different IDs, and that's so that imager can work, the imager.com can work. So this is a perfect way to reference it, and then we'll add it, or perfect way to add it for a specified key that's unique, right? So now we also want to make sure that if we're going to get this image, that we want to check the cache first. We don't always want to download it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do if let image is equal to image cache dot image for key, and we want to specify this key for this imager object. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go else, and we have to put the finishing bracket down here, or brace, or whatever you want to call it. So if this is a valid object, if there is an image in here for this ID or for this key, what we'll do is we'll just use our completion handler to pass that image as opposed to downloading it again, right? All right, so that should take care of our other problem, which is causing it to be so slow even after we've already downloaded it. I think that should work. And you know what, there was one other thing that we could have done, and that's just right here in the did receive memory warning. So let's say because like I said, once we download these images, we're storing them in our cache, and that's being stored in memory. Okay, so I'll come back to that right now, the did receive memory warning, but let's go ahead and scroll down. Still takes a little while for them to download, because these are pretty large images and we haven't optimized our download function. And we're not going to get into all that. You guys just have to, modify the request to how you see fit. But as you can see, it's downloading those images. It takes a while, but it does work. And then if we scroll back up, it's kind of weird to do this with a trackpad. Scrolling's never that great with a trackpad. See how it's not like taking a while to download them? Now you might be saying, oh well, some of them aren't even being pulled up, right? And I'll get to that right now, but let's just go all the way to the top. See how they're no longer being downloaded and they're not flickering or anything like that? So let's just make sure that we're all the way at the top. And it's so weird to click and drag. Okay, so the first one that doesn't pop up is this fifth one. So let's go ahead and let's print out our JSON, and I'll show you why it's not doing that. But first, but before I do that, let me get back to what I was saying about the did receive memory warning. Since we're storing all these images in the image cache to memory, it could cause a memory warning. You could be using up too much memory, so you want to make sure that you optimize your memory and all that stuff. But for right now, let's just the quickest fix would be to be image cache to be access our image cache, and all we do is just remove all objects. So in case we hit that memory warning, which we haven't, we just remove all objects. So what I was saying was, let's go ahead and print out our JSON so you can see why some of those images aren't displayed. Right? Because, you know, everything else seems to work. I mean, we're obviously doing something right, but these images just, they're not displaying for whatever reason. And I will show you why. Man, it just keeps going. Okay, we'll load this and we'll notice the same two images. There was like one right here, or not, one right here, which was like the fifth one, and then there was like one down here that also didn't work. Yeah, see, these two will never load, and that's because of the JSON. So let's go to the fifth one, my cat props. So we'll scroll all the way up to the top, right? So we'll just count them out. All right. We have our first one right here, and I'm sorry if you're on a phone and you can't see this, but I'll talk you through it. We have the second one right there, third one right here, fourth one right here, and then fifth one, it should be right here. My cat props, right? This is the one that we were talking about. My cat props. Okay, so if you notice for the link right here, it is not the same as the other links. So if we scroll up and we look at this link right here, the one before it, you'll notice that it's .jpeg. This link is not .anything, and I don't know what Imager is doing to cause that, but they're not actual image files, which is why we can't access it and access an image and download that image, because it's not like a .jpeg or .png or anything. So we can't access that actual image. I don't know, maybe they have them as GIFs or something like that. I already looked into it. They weren't GIFs when I pulled them up, but I don't know. Anyways, that's why it won't work. So if you were using this in a real life situation, you might want to check to make sure that it does have like a valid dot syntax or something like that. Maybe it has .jpeg or .png, or else you just throw away that item and it's not part of your imagers. But more realistically, you'll be working with the person that has the access to the API and that can change this and see why the data is not consistent. But that's why these ones are not loading or downloading. So yeah, that's all. That's all you need to do to present data. You know, present images and then cache those images, as you can see. There's a few ways that you can optimize this type of stuff, so I definitely recommend you look into that. But this is how you present data into a collection view, and this is pretty much as basic as I can get it without making this video even longer. So it's already almost an hour and a half. But yeah, I hope that was clear for you. If you have questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me as usual. Let's go ahead and stop this simulator. Just go ahead, feel free to reach out to me. You want to reach out to me real time, that would be on the Applied Swift Slack team. I have the link for that in the description. You can also reach out to me in the comments. This is another great way to reach out to me. On Twitter, one of the easiest ways for me to respond to you is on Twitter as well. On Twitter or Slack, those are like the easiest ways for me to respond. If you respond to me on, if you request something on YouTube, I will read them, but responding is a little bit hard because I have to open up the video, go down to the comment, and it's just not easy from a phone. But feel free to leave comments. And then lastly, do not send me emails. I just don't check my email like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this up on GitHub real quick. Yes. So new repo, and I'm gonna just call this Imager 2. And then the second time I have to make this Imager / collection view tutorial. And did you did imager collection view tutorial. Initialize with readme. Sure, why not? Alright, so now go here, copy, go terminal, go do change directory, and then we want to call this desktop KL learning, because that's where I learn ya. We call this one imager2. We want to get init, get remote, add origin, paste it in there, get add all, get commit -am, finished this tutorial, and now there's imager cats everywhere. Alright, get push origin master, and then we type in our password, and then what happened? Did it work? Did it work? Wait, hold up. Get push origin master. Did I commit? Get status. Get log. Okay. Get remote -v. Get push origin master. You know what? I probably did. I spell get push? I probably didn't spell origin right. Poop. Get remote add origin. Yeah, I spelled it right. Okay, hold on. So push, failed to push some reference GitHub get2. Updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. Didn't I pull origin master? Okay, get status. Get push or origin master. Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's not working. I don't know why it's not working. Anyway, if you want access to this project, it's almost exactly the same as this one. I don't know what's going on. It's not working. But this one is exactly the same. This is the one I recorded last night. So go ahead and access that one. And then if I could figure it out, then whatever. All right. That's all I got for you guys today. Remember, make sure you reach out to me. Like, comment, subscribe. Join the Applied Swift meetup group. Reach out to me. I already said that. Let me know if there's anything that you want to see. When I respond to you, if I don't already have it in the suggestion list, I will add it into my Trello. So there's also a link to my Trello in the description where you can see what should be upcoming in the following weeks. But that's subject to change based off of if I'm able to actually figure out how to get those things to work. But yeah, all right. So this has been Kyle Lee, aka Kilo Loco from kiloloco.com, and as always, remember, code passionately. All right, guys. See you later.